Hello my loves, and welcome back to what I think will be the very last of these limited palette painting videos as we come to our last few colour schemes. As with the last couple of videos in this series, this one is sponsored by Squarespace, so huge thanks to them. If you're looking to build a website, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to deliver that. Now, I'd been looking forward to this last leg of the journey because we're getting to the earthier, less saturated colours, which I'm really loving at the moment. Browns and greys and dirty greens. This first palette was probably the most mixed in different hues, but it still had some good harmony with all the colours being quite muted, and all in all I thought they went really well together. These colours instantly shouted out to me as an autumnal woodland scene. I had no idea how I would do that in a simplistic way, and in hindsight I wish I had approached it a little differently, probably by starting from the back and working my way forward rather than what I'm doing here and starting with the foreground. I think that I overcomplicated things a bit and I had trouble getting good variation between the lighter and darker values. I imagined the painting getting lighter and mistier as the trees receded back into the distance, but because I started with my darkest and most opaque colours, I don't know, I think I just got it the wrong way around. I think it would have been easier to start lighter and work my way into darker colours. Also, and I think I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, it was the last one actually with the swamp, I'm still tending to go in a little too thick instead of relying on layering, and that gives me a blotchy and streaky finish that I don't love. But despite all that, this one was really enjoyable process-wise. I've had so much fun throughout this whole experimental colour journey, just relaxing and trying whatever I want to try without worrying too much about how it'll turn out. One thing I loved about these particular colours in the Holbein watercolour range is just how opaque they can get, especially that chalky green and the Mars violet, which kind of reminds me of earth or clay. Next up, these colours again just instantly dictated what they wanted to be. As soon as I saw them, I thought of a canyon, a rocky kind of desert scene like you see in Roadrunner. I actually can't get over how much I love all of the colours in these last set of paintings. Thanks again to Watercolour for sending me these paint samples. It's really helped me to make my mind up about which ones I'll be investing in the future, which ones I'll get the most use out of. So I was a bit more considered with this one. A common theme in these videos has been my increasing confidence from one painting to another. I wanted to emulate some of the feeling of my glacier painting from earlier on in this series with those geometric shapes and the almost splintering of the rocks, but for some reason I just couldn't get that technique back as successfully this time. Like, I forgot how to do it until near the end of the painting. By the way, thanks so much for the feedback on my last video. I was so thrilled to see just how appreciative people were to discover new channels and new resources. I'm thinking I might have to make that a regular thing because I'm constantly stumbling upon new artists and new art information that I want to share. So maybe I'll add a kind of spotlight segment to the end of 1 or 2 videos each month. I'd make it a dedicated video each month, but then I think I'd feel a bit too much pressure to find things to love, and that obviously is not quite as fun. Now this was a nice and quick one. I think it took about 10 minutes altogether. These colours made me think of a bleak moorland, like those grey, foggy, damp expanses of British countryside, which are not always grey and gloomy, obviously. They're actually quite rich with nature and wildlife, but in these colours I saw something more muted, like what you'd see in those old books and films like Jane Eyre or Great Expectations, just bleak and unforgiving. I actually think this one turned out more lively than I wanted it to. If I were to do it again, I'd have things wash into each other a lot more. I was kind of going for a Turner-like style for this one, with blurred lines and just a wet look to it all, but I think somewhere along the way my controlling nature kicked in and I started trying to achieve crisp lines and balanced shapes. I do like the finished result, it's just not what I'd imagined. And finally, I used these greys and browns to paint a mountain scene with really simplistic shapes of trees. I wouldn't say that I was running out of ideas at this point, but looking back, I do wish I'd done something a bit more original. I think this composition is something that you see quite often. Other than that though, it was another peaceful and enjoyable process, thanks in large part to all of your music suggestions from last time, and a satisfactory end to what has been a nice little personal project. I don't mind that these paintings don't fit neatly into my body of work, they are just colour and style experiments after all, and I'm working to not push so hard to define my artistic style and just let it happen organically, as I always preach on this channel anyway. I did toy with the idea of selling these as a set of prints or postcards just because aesthetically they are nice and satisfying to look at all lined up, as you'll see in a second, but I think if I was meant to sell them I wouldn't have such a hard time figuring out if I wanted to sell them, if that makes sense. Not everything has to be a product after all, and I only want to add things to my shop that I really love and that I'm really proud of. It was so much fun doing these paintings, and I'm so grateful to have a following that not only allow me to experiment and mess about with my art, but are actually genuinely interested in that side of things as well. So thank you for joining me for these videos. I have compiled them all into a playlist so you can see the full journey and maybe try something similar yourselves. And massive thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring the channel. I'm sure many creators feel the same. It's a huge support to be able to dedicate more time to learning and honing my craft and less time to doing whatever I can to make sure I can pay my bills. So I know that you all know about them by now. They are a website building platform. They also provide domains, so you can essentially build your online presence all in one place. There's built-in capabilities to add a shop, a portfolio for your work, a blog, and lots of customizable templates to get it all looking just the way you want. I rebuilt my entire website from scratch with Squarespace last year and I haven't looked back, so see for yourself if it'll be the right choice for you. Get a free trial at squarespace.com, and if it is right for you, go to squarespace.com/Minnie Small for 10% off your first website. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon for the next video. Bye.